Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. Today I would like to present my analysis based on the scatter plot project, focusing on the relationship between blood donation and organ donation in Islam. As you can see from the table, we have a visually engaging poster that highlight the important output type of donation. On the right side, there's a data table listing the data along with the number of blood donor and organ donor for each entry. Now let's take a closer look at the data. For example, on June 12th, there was 232 blood donor but only 6 organ donor. On March 12th, there were 160 blood donor and 40 organ donor. This trend continues throughout the table, showing that blood donation are generally much higher in number compared to organ donation. For the next, I will be discussing the relationship between blood donation and organ donation. Based on the scatter plot analysis shown here, let's begin with the graph on the right. The scatter plot shows two lines. The blue line represents blood donor and the orange line represents organ donor over time. From the graph, we can observe that the number of blood donors fluctuates widely, with some sharp increase. Meanwhile, the number of organ donors remain quite low and steady throughout. Now, based on the analysis, on the left side of the image, we can conclude that there is no clear direct correlation between blood and organ donation. When blood donation go up, organ donation do not consistently go up with them. This tells us that the relationship between the two is not linear and not strongly dependent on each other in the database. In other words, just because more people donate blood doesn't mean more will donate organ at the same time. The form of the relationship is described as weak or non-linear because there is not consistent pattern or strong connection between the two type of donation. So while both are important, they not necessarily happen together, and this could be due to different in awareness processes or personal decision involved in each type of donation. That all for this part of the analysis. Thank you.
So I will present part C and part D. These parts focus on the type of correlation and the correlation coefficient between the number of blood donors and the organ donors is Selangor. For part C, which is type of correlation, based on the scatter plot, the data points are scattered randomly. Which means there is no clear increasing or decreasing trends. So we can conclude that the type of correlation is very weak, or in other words, almost no correlation between the two variables. For part D, we use the Pearson correlation formula to calculate the relationship between blood donor and organ donor data. The formula is R equals the sum of x minus x bar times y minus y bar divided by the square roots of the sum of x minus x bar square times the sum of y minus y bar square. After calculating using the full data, which is 30 set of data, we found that R equal to 0.046. This shows a very weak positive correlation, meaning the number of blood donors does not strongly influence the attitude towards organ donation. Thank you.
As for the part E, we calculate the coefficient of determination R2. The formula is B1 SXY divide XXX. We got 0.6810541154. And for the formula SSE, it is XYY minus B1 divide XXY. We got 264586.3974. And then for formula R2, it is 1 minus SSE divide SYY. we got 0.002150688. For interpretation, 0.002150688% total variation is explained by the regression line using the independent variable. The value is very low. It is 0.0215068, but blood donation has almost no effect on organ donation numbers. Okay, next for the part F, we need to calculate the estimated regression line using the least squares method. Okay, for the B1, the formula is XXY divide XXX. We got 0.6810541154. And then for the formula B0, the total organ donors divide total data we got from January until now, and then minus B1, the total B1 we got from first calculate it, and then equals the total blood donors, and then divide total data we got, and then we calculate, we got negative 62.55. The last calculation is the total from B0, total Y plus total B1 X. The last result is we got negative 62.55 plus 0.6810541154. And then interpretation for this part, it is for every increase of one blood donor, the number of organ donors is expected to increase by 0.6811. The intercept is negative, and the slope is not strongly significant. It shows that there is no strong linear relationship between blood donors and organ donors. That's all from me. Thank you.
Moving on to justification of claim. We evaluated the healthcare claim that individuals who volunteer for blood donations also have a positive attitude towards organ donation. To test this, we conducted a simple linear regression analysis. The regression equation we found was y equal to negative 62.55 plus 0.6811 x. However, the correlation coefficient r was only 0.046, and the coefficient of determination R squared was just 0.00215. These values indicate very weak and almost non-existent linear relationship. The slope is positive but extremely small, and the intercept is negative, which doesn't make sense in this context. Overall, both the statistical analysis and the scatter plot show that there's no strong evidence supporting the claim. Therefore, we conclude that blood donation volunteering does not meaningfully predict positive attitudes towards blood donation.
Explanation of finding. For Part A, blood donation is an independent variable, while the attitude toward organ donation is an dependent variable. There is no obvious correlation between the two. For Part B, the scatter plot shows that the data is scattered and there is no obvious linear tree. The correlation is extremely weak, almost a various sexual relationship. The For Part D, the correlation coefficients 0.046, indicating almost no association. For Part E, the determination coefficients R squared 0.00215, and the explanatory power of the model is extremely low. For last part F is a small slope of the regression line and a negative intercept indicate poor prediction effect. In conclusion, the result of this analysis show that there is almost no significant linear relationship between blood donation volunteer and positive attitude toward organ donation. Either the data nor the statistical indicator could support the originally proposed hypothesis. Therefore, it can be concluded that voluntary blood donation does not significantly predict a positive attitude toward organ donation.